Welcome to our first official episode of the Cricketer podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest on the show. So Musa Nadeem Ahmed is a dashing left-handed batsman and a Dutch cricketer who plays for the Netherlands national cricket team. In May 2021, he was named in the Netherlands A team for the tour of Ireland to play the Ireland Wolves. And he made his List A debut on the 10th of May 2021 for the Netherlands A cricket team against the Ireland Wolves. Later the same month, he was named in the Netherlands one-day international squad for their three-match against Ireland. He also plays in the European Cricket League for Netherlands and averages 25.16 with a mammoth strike rate of 214.60. So welcome to the Cerebral Cricketer podcast, Musa.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I want to just kick it off because the whole idea of the show is to really get into the mental side of cricketers. And so I think a lot of people or cricketers are shaped by, experiences in their childhood or how they played or, how they grew up with the game. So I wanted to sort of start there chronologically and sort of work your way into,
Mhm.
your cricket and how you play now and the style you play now and the way that you essentially play now. So, from what I know, you have a brother, Shariz Ahmed as well, who is playing for the Netherlands national team. So
Yeah.
you and your brother both played for Netherlands, and your father, from what I've read, played cricket in Netherlands after immigrating from Lahore, Pakistan. So what
Yeah.
was your childhood like when it came to cricket? Was it cricket 24/7 at your home, or was it constant cricket training? Did your family or family members always coach you at a young age? So I just wanted to know your relationship with cricket from a young age.
Well, to start off things like I didn't start. I didn't like cricket to be first. First of all, like I was at a young age playing a lot of football because football is very big over here. So when I was in high school, around 12, 13 years old, when I was 12, 13 years old, I started playing football a lot and even joined the football club and always with my dad, and he was like, why are you into football, just play cricket because it's a family thing. And Sherry is my little brother, always joined me as well. And but yeah, after that, like I started going with my dad. I started going with my dad to his cricket games and started liking it slowly, very slowly. This is when I was around 15. I really started enjoying the game and always took a bat or a ball with me, and my brother as well was always joining me, and we just jumped into the nets and tried to practice for pretty much the whole day when my dad was playing his 50 over game, for example. And yeah, from there, it started off from there basically.
Okay, and I know obviously with Netherlands and football is a huge thing. Like springs to mind is Iron Robin, and so
Yeah.
I can imagine the culture is like that in Netherlands. And actually, I assume you're going to school, and that sort of culture shapes you and wanting to play that. So, just out of curiosity, like what sort of position did you play in football?
Well, I was an attacker basically, left forward. And yeah, as you said, like football was so big in school as well. Like we used to play football in school as well, like playing even futsal, which is like indoor football. And I was pretty much playing every kind of a street football, futsal, even like a proper football game. I was playing everything because I really enjoyed my time over there as well.
And would you say aspects of that experience with football also shaped the way that you play cricket, or aspects of how you play cricket?
Not really. I think except being a team sport, I wouldn't say it's like it's not very similar in my opinion. It's totally different.
Okay, fair enough. So with in regards to you said 15 years old, that's when you started really getting into cricket. So were you
Yeah.
after 15, or was it like you started earlier and you started just liking cricket at 15 years old? Is that the case? Like you started playing cricket maybe a little younger, but weren't really enjoying it up until you were 15 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Like I used to hit a ball sometimes, bowl a ball to my dad when in the backyard, for example, and but I didn't really, I wasn't really into it. As I said earlier, like I tried to I really wanted to be a professional footballer. That was pretty much my dream and goal. And I always used to tell my dad like I'm gonna be the best player in the country and this and that. And he was like, "There's so much competition, and it's gonna be hard for you to play football at the highest level." But yeah, I found myself really I was really good at it, and yeah, I think and from there on like hitting balls and bowling was started pretty much after that part. It was like a switch. I think I would say it took me like 2 3 months to change from football and to cricket, and I totally switched the button and started playing cricket. And football was maybe once a week, where I was joining my friends because they didn't play cricket at all, so I had to join my friends to play football basically.
And so, how was training, like cricket training, for you and with your brother? Would like at 15 years old, was your brother joining at the nets regularly, or is how's the even infrastructure in Netherlands when it comes to cricket facilities?
Well, the infrastructure is, of course, not great. I wouldn't like when I was 15. That's like almost 10, 11 years ago. Then it was even worse than it is now. Now it's really good, in my opinion. Like we've got indoor facilities, and we've got proper indoor facilities where we can make use of it pretty much all the time. But in back then it was really bad, and basically I only practiced when the cricket season started. And for me and my brother, it was our club training started around 6 o'clock, as it normally does, and then my brother and I will just go there around 3:30 with my dad, and then we'll do our own practice for like 2.5 hours, and then after that we will join the club training to train extra. Basically, that's how we started.
So, are you saying 3:30 a.m.? That's a really like
No, no,
uh,
PM. I mean,
PM.
in the
Okay, so
afternoon. Yeah,
6
yeah, yeah.
p.m. Yep. So 6 p.m. Was the training, and you were just getting there earlier, and that was after 15 years old. Kind of. How long? How often would you say throughout the week?
We to start off we practiced around 3 days a week. Yeah,
Okay, so
3 days.
that's a pretty heavy load, especially. I assume obviously you're in school then. So how did you juggle that? Was it easy? Was it hard?
No, like it wasn't really hard to be fair. Like it was totally different. Like we were done by school around 3 o'clock, and then straight away went home, grabbed something to eat, and told our dad to bring us to the cricket ground and let's practice. And that's how basically the love for the game started, and yeah, we really enjoyed afterwards. Like yeah.
And were you always a batsman from a young age? So when you go into those club training sessions, were you practicing your like big hitting, or was it more technical? Like, what was the experience like at that age?
Well, at that age, it was I've always been a batsman. To be fair, from the very start, I never enjoyed really my bowling. I only, especially in practice, I always wanted to bat for as long as possible. And Sherry, my little brother, as you might know, he's a leg spin bowler, so he was just bowling for hours to me in the nets. My dad throwing balls, but it was most of the time it was like being technical, especially 1 hour, 1.5 hours, I would say, being technical, making sure your fundamentals are good, and then after that have a bit of fun, like hitting long balls, hitting sixes to improve that part of the game as well.
And when it comes to like, was your father basically your coach? Like you said, you go to club training, and I'm sure there's a coach there helping you through it. But was your father like that go-to person that helped you through your batting?
Well, yeah. To be fair, like basically the first, I would say around first 3 4 years, it was only my dad. To be fair, I didn't get any other coach because my dad was also the coach at the same club, so he was basically also coaching me and my brother. And yeah, basically we only got him for the first 3 4 years. Yeah.
And what would you say is the most important coaching tip or advice, or that big learning that you got from your dad when it comes to your cricket that sort of shaped you?
Well, like he was. first thing was like what I remember now. It's being fearless. Like it doesn't matter where you're playing or against who. Uh, make sure every opportunity you take, you grab it and try to grab it and make most of it. And don't be afraid or from anyone. Basically, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, even if it's like it's weak bowling attack or a strong bowling attack. Don't take it for granted and try to score, try to perform basically in every
Yeah,
game.
yeah, that's a great piece of advice from a young age. Like, um, I assume that being fearless helps you to not doubt yourself a lot because I find that like my experience with younger players or like really young players because I have my in-law side of young kids that are sort of playing cricket. Sometimes they have a lot of self-doubt in their game. They're sort of not willing to express themselves or getting scared of getting out. So I'd assume from what you're saying that your dad didn't instill that self doubt. Rather, he was trying to reassure you and playing positive, and perhaps that was a big reason why you were able to play well in that age. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, one of the big reasons I would say, like because like we grew up in a different culture, as you said, like subcontinental culture, and like my dad has gone through so much. He's seen so much in his life, so he was basically. It's kind of a life advice as well. You can use it in cricket as well, but also in other aspects of your life, like being fearless. Make sure you grab every opportunity and you don't back off. Like it doesn't matter who it is. And basically, like I've never played youth cricket. I've never played youth cricket. And he was straight. He got me straight into senior cricket, and he was like, "This is if you want to improve, this is the way to go." Because normally, as you know, countries like Netherlands, Ireland, England, we always teach our kids to play youth cricket first and do well over there and gain some experience, confidence, and then go into senior cricket. But I personally never played underage groups like under 12s, under 13, under 15s. I straight away went into senior cricket when I was 15, which is a really bonus. I always tell other young players as well, try to it's all good like scoring 50s against your age groups, but in my opinion, like you learn the most when you play senior cricket, because of course it's a level higher than you actually are. And then if you don't if you actually fail over there, you will learn from it, and then from there on you can learn a lot and make sure you do well from pretty much after that.
That's a really good, interesting insight that you shared there because I feel that, like, I can only speak from my personal experience. I played junior cricket and you play with the softball, and then when you get to that bracket in order to play senior cricket, it's suddenly a big adjustment from softball to hardball. So you sort of, if you're starting from a younger age, obviously with the hardball, playing against players that are older than you, who are obviously more experienced. That means that you're already learning from that and starting from a young age. That gives you like a leg up in the game rather than sort of stunting your I guess growth and starting off with the kids. So it's always I think yeah, that's really interesting point you said that people should be sort of quote unquote thrown in the deep end in some sense to really adjust and then be able to grow as a cricketer, right? So I assume that's what you're sort of speaking to as well. And I just wanted to also ask, in terms of because you mentioned being fearless and using that in within your life, and you talked about subcontinent culture, which is really interesting. From what I gather, is well, since your dad was the coach at the club and all that, sometimes the big issue, sometimes the issue can be for subcontinental players is that the family or parents really emphasize education over sports. So
Mhm.
there's that avenue of getting into cricket maybe stunted because I'm based in Australia, so I see that a lot. Like a lot of talented subcontinent kids that play good cricket, but then growing up, they're sort of told to make ultimatum like one or the other. Like you have to pick studies and all that. So
Yeah.
they sort of don't get into cricket ultimately. So I assume that your father was obviously pushing you to be the best in your sport, but then sort of balance that with cricket as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. He wanted me to. He never actually pushed me to become a cricketer. I wouldn't say he forced me or pushed me to become a cricketer. He was like, when he saw we enjoyed the game and we really wanted to practice or train or play, from there on he started realizing, okay, I might have to help them out and make sure they get off to a good start. And um, yeah, when like cricketing wise, he never forced me, but also on the study wise, like he never actually he told me to do whatever you want to do. Like he was very clear. He was like, whatever you want to do, if you want to study, you wanna play sport, make sure you do it 100%, and whatever you choose, you do it 100%, and you commit to it. And that's what he wanted to do. My mother was more on the other side. She wanted me to study a lot, and for that I did complete my study. I did my accountancy. I completed my accountancy course, and then after that, like, it turned, because you don't have that much time anymore to study. You go on tours. You go all around the world, and you play, you training. You don't get time to study, and basically from there on, when I was like 19, yeah, 19, around 19 years old, I kind of backed off from my studies and I started really playing cricket professionally, I would say.
And to wrap up, I guess a young age, or you as a young child, and how you went and your experiences with cricket. Just to wrap up that section, uh, out of curiosity, which cricketer were you inspired by, and why?
Um, well, they are like, I really idolized Sangakkara as a left-hander. I really enjoyed his batting. He was one of the few best. I normally always idolize left-handed batsmen, which are Sankar, Jazz Surya. Like, when I started watching cricket, my dad told me to watch Jazz Surya. He's a really attacking player, and this is how you should play. And I started looking up on, searching for his videos on YouTube, and he seemed to me like a good player to copy, basically. And I tried to copy him for the first few years, and then after that, Sangakkara took off, like, because Sangakkara was still playing at that age. But yeah, those two guys are really idolized.
Yeah, Sangakkara, beautiful batsman to watch. So I
Yeah.
understand why, especially being a left-handed as well. I'm a right-handed batsman, so I can't relate, but
Okay.
just good to watch. Yeah. So, on terms of your cricketing journey, you said that you're playing senior cricket from a young age, but at what point did you feel like, oh, okay, I can make the national team or play at a higher level? At what age was that at, and what was that tipping point?
Well, I think I was 18, just over 18. I was still under 19, I would say, and there was like a under 19 tournament going on, and I got invited to play for the region North Holland, and I played there, and it was like a T20 tournament, and I scored, I think, scored 100 of like 40 something balls, and then after that, I got back home, and my dad got a phone call from someone from the cricket board, and he said, we want to send this guy to we want to send your son to South Africa for a cricket academy, to the Gary Kirsten Cricket Academy. And that's one moment which changed basically my mindset towards cricket. I was like, after that, I was like, okay, now I can reach the highest level. I feel like I can do it from now on.
Wow, that's very fascinating. So were you like 19 or 20 when you went to? So you went to the academy, I assume,
Yeah.
and you were around that age. And what was the experience there? Can you walk us through? What was it like during the academy or your time at the academy?
Well, that was pretty cool. Like, it was a 6 month academy in Cape Town, and we got like the best coaches, and Gary Kirsten himself was there 3 times a week, and throwing balls at us, and that was basically the first coaching that I got after my dad. Like, I remember, like, I was really raw by then, and I got into the academy, and we playing Red Bull. They were teaching us how to play Red Bull, and I was just smashing. I was going aerial in Red Bull cricket, and Gary was like, "Okay, you can hit a ball, but we need to we need to work on your defense and make sure you can bat long as well, and at the same time." And yeah, that was basically. I learned a lot from that academy. That was because I was young as well, and it was my first really first time I got to work with some coaches, and yeah, from there on, I took it even more seriously. When I got back home, I was like, oh, this I can really achieve the highest level. I can really play at the highest level.
So in terms of technicals, he helped you through your DFM, and it wasn't just him. Obviously, I think you said there were other coaches and trainers there. So apart from, I guess, the more technical stuff on the mental side, was there any specific coaching around that, or like a process that helped you that the other coaches at the academy were teaching you about or telling you about?
Well, we got a few mental classes as well over there, like about mental aspect and this and that. But that was all very new to me, and I never saw that. I didn't even know that this could be a part in the game as well. And but yeah, like I learned a lot from there, like being disciplined in whatever you do, for example, and making sure you're well prepared for games. And how do you do that? How can you train yourself to do that? And those things were very new to me, and yeah, it took time to really get it into me, get it into my training, I would say.
And circling back to, you said the under 19 tournament, you scored 100 of 40, roughly, I think you said. And at that time, because I assume at that age, when a youngster is playing like an under 19 tournament, there's a bit of pressure, or there's a bit of, but yeah, pressure to do well. And I'm sure there's other talented cricketers alongside you. Did you feel any pressure at that time when you're scoring? Or, I mean, clearly, like, the innings shows, you sort of played in your fearless with a fearless mindset. So how was the vibe and the situation during that under 19 World Cup for you? Oh, sorry, not World Cup, but tournament.
No, nothing. Like to be fair, there was no pressure. To be very fair, I remember I arrived at the ground, and yeah, we won the toss and batted first, and the coach told me that I will be opening, and then I was just when I was just watching the ball and trying to hit it for six. Basically, that was basically my goal in that game, and it came off. And I think it shows just that I performed at the right time at the right place. I feel like I did that really well, and that changed my whole life towards cricket. Maybe if I didn't score that 100 in that day, I would have not played international cricket, because I wouldn't have been invited to go to South Africa for the academy. But yeah, there was no pressure, to be fair. Maybe if someone told me that there is gonna be someone watching you today, then there would have been some pressure. But nah, no one said that.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. And in regards to the academy, so what was your journey through your cricketing journey post the academy?
Well, after the academy, it was I got back home, and then our cricket season started over here. Scored some runs. Got invited to play Pro Series, which is like the best 25 players playing against each other, basically. And then I remember I got a opportunity to yeah, to bat at number 8 basically in that first game, and I got like 20 odd not out. And then the next game, which was like 2 days after, they gave me an opportunity to bat at number 4, and I got like 40 odd in that game. And then from there on, Ryan Campbell was uh, the coach in charge, and he told me, okay, from now on, I want you to practice with the national squad, and I want you to go to an A team tour. Yeah.
And this sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the timeline, because I know I've read somewhere on your Wikipedia bio about Ryan Campbell, which is the Dutch team coach. He said that he talked about your hard work during the COVID break. Was that around then, or was that like a lot before? What
No,
you?
no, that was after. The COVID was after.
Oh, okay, because there's a quote by Ryan Campbell. He said you made a comment about your performances during the top class say, competition and the hard work during the COVID international break. So was that basically what he was referring to? Like, the
No, that was a few years afterwards. Like this was pretty much what I said earlier. Like about being selected in the Pro Series. This was pretty much my first. Like this was around 20 years when I was 20 years when I got really the opportunity to be with the big guys like the Maxwell Dowds and Scott Edwards, playing with them basically. And then COVID happened like 2 3 years after. I reckon like I was 22. Yeah, I was 22. You know.
So at that time, then you were ending up training with the national team. Is that correct? And you were amongst the squad.
Yeah. So I was a part of the national squad. Yeah, which
And
is
how was
like 25, 30 players.
and how was that experience like? Walk us through, your experiences and how you managed that. And I'm sure, obviously, like playing at that high level, you're suddenly maybe exposed to potential other bowlers that you may have not faced. So walk us through your experience there.
That was something new, of course, as well. Like facing national team bowlers regularly and training with them, learning a lot from other batsmen who were doing well at that stage, and like even a few that have retired now, which I really followed a lot domestically. And yeah, I really enjoyed that time, especially because that was something for the first time I felt a little bit of pressure because you've got head coach watching you, you've got the assistant coach, batting coach, whoever there was at the ground, like they're all watching you, and you want to do well in the net because the captain is bowling to you, and you don't want to get out or you don't want to do well to show them that I belong here and I can play at the highest level.
And also, like in regards to batting, I think the biggest thing as a young cricketer growing up is about facing high level pace. So I assume maybe I'm just taking a guess, but obviously at a younger age you weren't facing as fast bowlers, but now with the national team setup you're facing faster bowlers. Is that the case, or were you always comfortable with facing 135, 140 clicks? Because that can obviously for a young cricketer be a bit daunting when you haven't faced that, and suddenly you have a ball fizzing past you. So, what was that experience like? Were you always used to that kind of pace, or did you always just have a fearless mindset throughout those age groups when it comes to facing faster bowlers, maybe at a bit older age or after you've sort of been at the academy?
Well, pace was, to be fair, never a problem. I really enjoyed facing fast bowlers. That's why I kind of opened the batting as well. But yeah, it was basically in the back of my mind. It was like, okay, well, I'm facing this bowler. I'm facing this. Well, he bowls. He bowled 140 at the World Cup. Now I'm facing him on a Wednesday afternoon in the nets. And but it's about getting used to it. Basically, it took me like maybe 2 3 sessions, and then I was used to it, and I was enjoying my time in the nets against them.
And were you always, for example, another one is people. I know for me, like the short ball can be a little uncomfortable for players like myself. So at that pace, short ball, did that ever phase you, or did you enjoy it? I mean, a lot of left-handers like love the pull shot, like Sangakkara. So
Yeah.
it's curious to get your thoughts on that as well.
Well, to be very fair, like I never really enjoy the pull shot in the nets. To be very, to short ball, sorry. I kind of back away from the short ball in the nets. In the game, I don't mind. Basically, it doesn't matter where you bowl, but in the nets, I prefer the bowlers being a bit more on the fuller side than the shorter side. But I guess like when you're facing them, you have to have an answer against it. Doesn't matter if you're practicing or playing. You can't back away. Like you can't be afraid from it. As I said earlier, you need to face it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I always found, I don't know, it's just my personal opinion, but like with nets, because the nets, you can play the straight drive and the ball like leaves the net area.
Yeah.
So I never psychologically was able to play the pull shot in the nets because of that tunnel vision, if that makes sense. Whereas in the game, you have like open space everywhere. It's not the
Yeah.
same. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that also affects a lot of play. So I always find like, you just mentioned with a bowler bowling at a certain pace, in the nets, and he was bowling at like 140 clicks in the World Cup. Like, I always find like some bowlers bowl faster in the nets as well, and then in the game it's not as fast. I don't know. Like, Did you have that experience as well?
Yeah, I guess that's normal. Like that's something which I've experienced as well. Like some bowlers bowling really, really quick in the nets, but as soon as you face them in the game, it feels 10k slower, and you kind of find it easier in the game. That's personally something which I've experienced against the faster bowlers.
And circling back to, you said you're part of the national team setup and training with them, and you said that you're feeling pressure with the coaches watching. How did you manage or deal with that? Did you, because obviously it's a very difficult mental battle, right? When you're feeling pressure, sometimes when you're feeling pressure, you can't play your kind of fluent self, like with a, snap of the fingers. You sort of, battling with these feelings and emotions and thoughts. So how did you handle that situation?
Well, like I spoke to a few senior players to be very fair. Like the captain then was Peter Salar, and he helped me quite a bit on that aspect as well. He said, "No, just be yourself. Don't try to impress someone. Just try to be yourself and make sure whatever you've done before this, just try to do that. If that's in the nets or in the game itself, like just be yourself and play your shots." That's basically the best advice I got at that age.
And did you feel that was that the talk that helped you sort of find your feet and play, the way that you play, or did you have to also incorporate other mental skills into your toolkit in order to play your fearless self?
A little bit. I think at the highest level, you need to have a little bit of change in your game. I feel like, of course, you want to be as natural as possible, and you shouldn't be changing it a lot, but you need to do some like slight changes, which will make you, how do you say, like successful at that stage, at that level. And I think that was something you just figure it out when as much as you when you play a lot with those guys, or just being around with them, you learn a lot, and you just it changes naturally. It changed for me very naturally. Like I would say very natural changes in my game.
And in regards to, you said natural changes. So from that young age to now, have you
You
had
know,
to go through like overhauls of your technique or your mindset when it came to how you played back then versus now, because maybe you're facing different bowlers, or did you always keep the essence of your batting the same and just did little tweaks here and there? So have you do you feel like in certain matchups or certain bowls you have to really change the way you bat essentially, or have you always sort of kept it at the core the same and done minor adjustments?
yeah, I think most of it is pretty simple, basics, and try to keep it as similar as it can be. If it's against a 100 kilometer per hour bowler or 140 kilometer per hour bowler, it's most of the time same things. It's just that, as you said, like it's a little bit of tweaking around. Okay, what can I do? Where can I score against this kind of bowler in a particular phase of the game? I would say it's more that than being totally different in your game plan against different bowling attacks or bowlers.
And you also mentioned that in terms of, obviously you've talked about your dad, and you also talked about the academy and Gary Kirsten. So who would you say, apart from them, have been your most influential coach or mentor when it comes to the way you bat, or really made an impact on you when it comes to getting the best out of yourself?
Well, of course, it was my dad, a few coaches at the academy. Other than that, of course, Ryan Campbell, when I got the opportunity to practice with him a lot, because he was himself an opening batsman for Australia, and he gave me a few really good advices, like to how to open the batting at the highest level and what is important, what shots you need to develop to be successful at the highest level. So he was like one of the few guys that I would say really helped my batting at that stage of my career.
And in terms of also in regards to like your own process when you're batting, walk us through like because you also talked about in the academy that they talked about preparation, how that's important to get best performances. So at the moment, like how does your like routine or your process like when you're batting or before you come onto bat, are you like doing your own rituals? Are you doing something? I don't know, like a lot of players they talk about listening to music before they go onto bat to drown out certain thoughts, or like or even the night before getting a good night's sleep. So walk us through your sort of process when it comes to your batting up until when you're batting out there, like how do you sort of get into that zone and stay fearless as well?
Well, I think the day before the match day is the most important day. I think if it's possible to hit some balls, making sure you're hitting your shots. That's important for me. Like hitting my favorite shots, making sure I'm middling most of the balls and being as ready as I can. And then after that, it's yeah, chilling basically, like making sure you get a good amount of sleep, and then the next morning listen to a bit of music. I'm not a like a big listener before the game, to be very fair, but I do listen a little bit, and then yeah, basically after that, just before going into when I get my pads on, I'm pretty relaxed. I try to be relaxed, but I try to sit alone, sit by myself, and make sure I'm watching the game really closely instead of talking or chatting to other players. Yeah, that's basically it's very simple, basic routine. It's not something special, to be very fair.
So in terms of, would you say, like I guess in your personal life, are you the type that's a bit more extroverted, likes socializing, or do you find yourself a bit more introverted, where you need to spend a lot of alone time and do your own little things, or also like how would you describe yourself outside of cricket? And I seem like from what you're saying as well, like you keep it chill, simple as well, and that kind of I guess would you say that reflects within your batting too? Because you do have that aggression as well. So I'm just trying to understand how you get that aggression out, even though you're being like a chill guy. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm basically outside cricket. I'm a pretty chilled guy. I kind of try to socialize as much as I can, and if that's with my friends, family, brother, like I'm probably the most loudest of the in the house, so that's kind of matches with my betting as well, I would say. But yeah, like as soon as I'm on the field, like I feel like being calm as much as you can, like that's the key to perform, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Because I guess a lot of people are different. Like, because I'm a bit more like from on my own personal life, like I'm a bit more on the quieter end, but I try to be as loud as possible in the game. Because like if I'm
Yeah,
too quiet, then I become a bit slow and
yeah,
a
yeah,
bit less watchful. You know what I mean? So I mean,
yeah.
everyone's different, right? Like everyone, it just depends on how they are. Like I know a lot of like I have friends I'll play with that are like. Um, a lot of intensity, outside of the game, a lot of energy. But then if they keep that in the game, they get distracted more. So they try to
Mhm.
like, as you said, like try to be calm, bit chill, so that they
Yeah.
stay a bit focused. So in regards to also just working off the timeline, you said like you were with the national team setup. So what happened after that? Walk us through the journey post that experience as well.
I think after that, this was around 21, 22. Then I went to Australia to play a club season over there. Uh, that was also arranged by Ryan Campbell. I played at his former cricket club in Perth, and I played a season over there. And then when I got back from there, COVID started basically, and then the time started really. Like that was there was a lot of uncertainty what's going to happen because as you know as well, like COVID at the start, no one knew what's going to happen in the next few years. So yeah, that was a tough time.
Okay, that's interesting. You played in Perth. How was that experience like? Because Perth's a lot more on the hotter side. Similarly in South Africa, I can assume as well. So how because you're obviously like also traveling. So how's that experience in Perth and playing club cricket there?
Perth was different. It was my first club season abroad, like being an overseas player for a cricket club. That was my first time, and it was tough. Like it was a different ball game in my opinion. Like as you know, like the Aussies are famous to sledge around, being the tough guys on the cricket field. Like that was something really new for me as a young guy. Like and that basically improved my mental game, I would say, like being mentally more tougher whenever you got hit, for example, on those faster pitches, getting hit by a fast bowler, you kind of being you trying to be tough and showing that toughness to the opposition. Like those little things like improved a lot in my game, and I would say that that tour was uh, game changing in my mental aspect of the game, I would say. Yeah.
That's actually very fascinating insight because yeah, like Australia is very ruthless cricketers. Not gonna lie, especially in my experience, right? Like you're batting and they'll say something about your mom or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
house stuff. Yeah, they're like that, right? And so uh, me a bit more emotional. That kind of always got to me. Like, dude, like chill, man. But
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
But how did you sort of? So you said that it helped you be mentally tough. So did you just learn to deal with it, or did you put things in place, on the mental side, to prevent those outside noise getting to you? Like, how did you find a way to cope with that? Like, what was your strategy?
I think as soon as I felt like it's not disrespecting me or going too far, I would say like it was more absorbing and like dealing with it, trying to stay calm as possible and trying to uh, answer it through my batting instead of answering it with my mouth. I would say like that was basically how I uh, dealt with it at that stage. Yeah. Because I never got taught to disrespect or to speak to other players, to the opposition, I would say, in in that way. So it was really new for me, but yeah, that's how I dealt with it.
Okay, well, so basically, you like what I can gather is that you don't really engage if they do sledge at you.
Yeah.
You sort of do you try to stay in your bubble as much as possible and respond through your batting? Essentially, is that how you go about it nowadays?
Yeah, same for now as well. Like if it's as I said, if it's not like disrespecting me or if I feel like it's not going too far, like I wouldn't say anything. Like if I feel it's happening or they're going too far, then I'll reply of course because yeah, they're replying and then tell the umpire or whatever it is and then yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Because also, like from my observation, I know like many players they sort of love it when the opposition comes at them because it gets them going, gets the adrenaline going, so it
Yeah.
fuels them. But obviously, some players like that kind of maybe distracts them from the way they're playing. So they sort of like what you've just described, like don't engage too much when it's probably very necessary, but they try to keep in their bubble. So
Mm.
that's really interesting because yeah, obviously all players have different ways to deal with it as well. And even for myself, like sometimes depends on the match situation. I sometimes engage just to not because I want to engage, but rather because I want to like get my adrenaline going. So I try. I know that it will keep me more focused and all that. So
Yeah.
I guess yeah, everyone's different in that sense. So after you said COVID was obviously big global situation and caused a lot of it wasn't a pretty time for most people around the world. So how did
Mm.
you deal with that situation? I can even imagine like training would have been a lot tougher. Maybe you were able to train. I don't know, but walk us through that period and how you managed COVID.
Well, the first I got back home from Australia around March 2020, and then the first 6 months there was nothing basically. I literally chilled at home for 6 months. Didn't go outside even to walk around or have a jog. Like literally, it was that tough. And yeah, training wise, no training at all, which was kind of like affecting my mental health as well a little bit. In that age, like, because I felt like, okay, I've given so much time to cricket, and then now, because there was so much unsurety about it, that when is it gonna be done? When will we ever be able to go outside again? Things like that came in your mind, and I was like, what am I gonna do in my life now? Like, I've given so much time to cricket, and then it's basically done now at this stage for next couple of months, maybe years. And then, yeah, that was really tough, that stage.
And after that, so when did it sort of clear up? So you said 6 months you didn't train. So
Yeah.
when was the first time you were able to get into your cricket groove again and be able to go nets and train and all that?
I think it was like around 7 after the first COVID. How do you say it? First COVID. Yeah, first time someone got affected by COVID. But it started very slowly. It was like training in very small groups. If it was like two guys with a coach for an hour, things like that. Like, got well structured by the cricket board, but it was like very slowly training once a week and then twice a week, and then we got a few games which were totally different. You're not allowed to sit next to each other, for example, or you're not allowed to shake hands or celebrate after a wicket. It was pretty much like being in your area on the cricket field, and those were very tough times. And I personally thought, like, how long is this gonna go for? 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? It's gonna change. It changed a lot in my for my mental aspect, for my mental health. I mean,
And so your debut for Netherlands, how long was it after that period?
sorry.
Your debut for Netherlands, how long
Oh,
was it after like that situation with COVID?
well, I think I debuted in June or something, May or June. It was in 2022. So still, at that time it was still COVID, and we, like, I don't know if you feel if you know, but in I think it was the second wave at that time, and the Netherlands got affected a lot by the second wave, because UK got hit and then we got hit as well. So everything was still going around, and then Ireland came to Netherlands in that time for the first series of the ODI Super League, and then it was still being played in bubble, no crowds allowed. So I basically debuted in my first game, first series, without my parents being there at the ground, or my brother, my family, basically, and which was also really tough.
Yeah, I can imagine because obviously you've been working up until that point in order to play at the highest level, and then you get there. You obviously, as a youngster, always envision that your family are going to be there to cheer you on from the sidelines, but no one was really there, especially if it was during
Yeah.
COVID. So, how? So I just so was there anything else significant that happened before that? Because obviously we're in the. So I was obviously want to get into that sort of side of your debut and your emotions and feelings, but because it was during COVID, was there anything else that sort of happened that shaped you as a cricketer, mentally or even from ability sense, from like around that COVID time till up until your debut?
I think the COVID time was when we started playing cricket, because that was I would say that the next 6 months after starting practice again, I would say, was really beneficial. I find it was really beneficial for me, because you got to spend more time on your batting without basically knowing that you're gonna play again, or in the next few months. I would say you don't have a game, so you could spend more time on your batting, like your batting aspect, if that's being more technical or being more tactical. I think that was those I would say 5 6 months were really beneficial for me on that side as well.
Okay, yeah, and so in the lead up to your debut, did you know days in advance, weeks in advance that you were going to debut? So run us through the emotions. and the feelings like leading up to your debut.
Well, before that, a month ago, the domestic season started, basically, and with a lot of restrictions and going around. We needed to get tested and this and that. So the first challenge was always on the cricket day, like you don't want to be tested positive because then you're missing a game. So that was also something new. And but yeah, the cricket season started around, I think it was April, and we played our first practice game, and I scored 100 in that game. And yeah, after that, the next week, the cricket season started, and I scored. The first game, I think I scored 60 odd, and the second game was rained off. I was betting on 40, and that's when you what you said earlier, Ryan Campbell commented about my training, about my hard training, that I worked really hard, and that was that little period where I really worked hard and then got some runs, and then I got a message on from Ryan Campbell that you're in the, was it final 20, I think. We're gonna practice for this week. We have a training camp, and I want you to be there. And like that, like I thought, when I got that message, I was like, oh, I might be in. I saw my name on number two, like literally the last on the list. I was last on the list. I was like, they're gonna announce 15 players, so 5 are gonna drop out. So I was like, making sure, okay, this guy who's gonna be dropped out. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna make it. I'm just gonna practice this week and see what happens from there. But then that 5 days of training camp, I think on the second or third day, Ryan Campbell came to me. He took me aside and he was like, "We're gonna select you for the series next week." So I just wanted to tell you that, and that was a great feeling. That was yeah, that was a really good feeling.
So that period where Ryan Campbell was saying, you're working hard, and you said you scored those runs as well in the practice games. What were you doing that sort of caught his attention? Were you just at the nets a lot, working hard, and was there anything specifically that you're doing different in that period? Walk us through like that experience in that period with those practice games and your achievements there.
I think he knew that. Of course, he was there most of the trainings, and I used to practice a lot in that time because, as I said, there was no game. So yeah, I was just practicing and waiting for those opportunities again to basically score runs in the game. And then when I did get them, I did score straight away. And then yeah, I think Ryan Campbell really liked that because I worked hard firstly, and then executed as well in the game. And yeah, he really liked that for me.
So, in the days leading up to your debut, what was your emotions? Were you like, you explained like when you look reading at the team list, you sort of figure out like, am I going to make it, am I not? But
Yeah.
on the days leading up to the debut, like, were you when you found out the news that you were going to play for your country, were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you willing to really, showcase your skills on obviously on the highest level, like what was your emotions and feelings at that time?
Well, I got to know it one day before the game. It was a third ODI. The first two I didn't play, and then the third ODI they got me in for to play. And then Ryan Campbell said to me, "You're gonna play tomorrow at training." And then yeah, like I couldn't sleep. Basically, I was literally looking at the roof and just just visualizing basically what am I gonna do tomorrow, what's gonna happen with me. And then I was really excited, and everything, like basically all the hard work I did before that, like it came in my mind, like, oh, I've done this, I've done that, and tomorrow it's gonna happen, my dream is gonna come true basically.
So you said visualizing, which is really interesting. Like, are you a big guy when it comes to visualization? Because I know a lot of cricketers do that. So is that something you utilize as well?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I would say like, visualizing a few bowlers of the opposition, like what kind of field settings they're gonna put to me to start off when they bowl to me, and then if I get an opportunity to score in that area of the ground, then what are they gonna change? Are they going to put a field out there? What changes are they going to make in the field and in their bowling? Like things like that. Like, but not a lot. Not a big visualizer to be really fair. Like I would do it a little bit.
And when it comes to, you just said like they changed the fields. Are you thinking of a way to tweak your batting in order to deal with those fielding changes? Like, do you like obviously you have your core structure of your batting, but then do you feel like okay, I'm gonna open up, I don't know, the cover drive a bit more because maybe they won't have the fielder a cover. Like, how do you sort of tweak those? Tweak your batting when it comes to those fielding adjustments.
I think first it depends on a match situation. I think if it's required, I would do it. Let's say if it's a T20 game, then I will try to hit straight away where there's no fielder. But if it's a 1 day game, I will try to I will try to not change as much to my batting when they change their field setting because I feel like then they are under pressure already. They're changing things, so I'm already on top, so I don't have to change things. Basically, that's how I see it.
And in the lead up, I guess, when you're about to walk onto bat, walk us through, I guess, your thought process in that exact moment as well. Did you get a good night's sleep as well? Did that help? And, when you're in the field practicing, I mean, from what I gather, you were, excited as well. So, yeah, walk us through the emotions on the day.
Well, it was a series decider. I remember, and we were playing for the Super League. It was our first series, and I think we were chasing around 180, if I'm not wrong, on a very slow deck. Like it was spinning a little bit as well. They had like three spinners, and I was at number four, and just before going into bed, like I was shaking and I was moving my legs. Normally, I'm really calm. And my club mate was also in the squad, and he saw me like he wasn't playing that day, but he saw me shaking and being a bit nervous. And he told me afterwards. He didn't say anything at that stage, but like afterwards, he told me like I saw you shaking and this and that, but I didn't want to disturb you. I felt like it's just I won't be able to change it. I just want you to be as calm as possible and do your thing. But yeah, when I walked into bed, I think we needed 100 more, and I was really stressing basically. And the first ball I didn't see. Like basically, the fast ball was running in, and I never saw the first ball. Like it went past my bat. I watched it back, and my bat was somewhere else where from the ball, and it was really far away from the ball. But yeah, to be fair, I never saw the first ball of my international career. But yeah, I think the second ball I edged for 4 runs past third man. And then when I got that edge, even though it was an edge, I was like, okay, now I'm off. Now I'm good. And then after that, I was pretty chilled. Scored, I think, 20, 21, I think it was, on my debut. Run a ball almost. So it was pretty good on that pitch.
I think what you describe is so humanizing because a lot of players, obviously club level players, they look at top level cricketers and think they probably don't feel any emotions, right? But just the
Yeah.
fact that you just described, like how nervous you might have been, and how you were shaking, and then obviously once you were out there and got your first few balls in, and then you sort of were underway. So I can imagine, yeah, that would be so relieving for someone to hear. And would you have any advice for cricketers in general when it comes to, because obviously like dating for a country is a different kettle of fish when it comes to dealing with emotions and feelings. But I guess everyone, whether someone has been batting at number seven the whole life and gets it told to open suddenly,
Yeah.
suddenly they have a pressure to perform because they want to show how good they are, but then they're stressing as well. So do you have any advice for cricketers like that when it comes to dealing with pressure or nerves when it comes to batting?
Well, my biggest advice would be try to be yourself, try to absorb it because pressure, everyone feels pressure. If you say you don't feel pressure, then you're basically lying to yourself. But I try to absorb it as much as I can, like when I'm batting, if I'm feeling that pressure. And yeah, because I know like when you do that, like there will after a while, if that's like 10, 20. 30 overs, you will get your time, and then your time will start after that to put pressure on the opposition. That's how I always see it. And yeah, if you feel pressure, I think try to absorb it and be yourself, be calm as well.
And another question I had was in regards to you mentioned like from what I gather, you said you like fast bowling and pace never really bothered you in that sense. But I guess your debut was on a slowish wicket, and even though I'm sure there was obviously paces, you said first ball you faced was a pacer. But what do you prefer? Like certain conditions and feel comfortable? Like would you say you're more comfortable on very quick pitches, or do you prefer like slowish sort of pitches as well? I mean, I know that you've obviously grown up facing a brother who's a leggy, so perhaps slowish pitches don't bother you, or you're just not really phased with certain conditions. You sort of try to adjust to the match situation. So I just wanted to know your sort of mindset when it comes to facing different pitches.
I would say preferable faster pitches because I like pace on the ball and feel like there's not when you play on a faster pitch you don't have to think a lot about your batting compared to a slower pitch. When you're playing on a slow pitch, you're thinking a lot. You start to think a lot because you feel like, wait, this shot might be off today because the wicket is really slow, or against this spinner, this shot is not on, or they're gonna bowl five spinners, for example, or yeah. So I think I prefer faster pitches because yeah, you don't have to think that much anymore. You basically play your natural game and instincts takes over basically.
Yeah, fair enough. And in regards to like you've talked about your debut and your experiences there, um, I want to also maybe because I've jotted down some memorable innings that you've played at that level as well. So like just sort of transitioning from there, I also wanted to walk through like your experiences and your sort of mental setup when it came to especially the one that strikes me is the 61 of 69 against South Africa
Yeah,
uh, that you had played. So when I was looking through that scorecard, I can see Nigiri, Marco Jansen, Nokia. Obviously, these are quick bowlers. I'm
yeah.
sure on a quick deck as well. So walk us through that innings. So how long was that after your debut that you played that innings? So curiosity.
That was in 2023, so a year, 1.5 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that experience? Walk us through. I'm sure you've already gotten used to the ebbs and flows of international cricket, so you obviously weren't shaking the way that you, were having those emotions and experiences in your debut. But you're obviously facing one of the best bowlers in the world, right? Your Marco Jansen plays, IPL, whatever, Nokia as well. So when you, actually, this is the first series that you're versing them. So what was your setup like? Like, were you like pumped to sort of face them? Were you excited, or were you a bit like, okay, these are the cream of the crop bowlers. I have to be on my game. So I was just curious about how you thought about that series and that game.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like as you know, they're really good bowlers, world class bowlers, I would say. And when I got to know like I need to face them, and these guys are in the squad, and facing Janssen with the new ball, for example, or Ngidi, like I was trying to be as calm as much as I can and try to prepare myself according to that. And then when it was game time, like when I was at the crease, I kind of like watched the ball basically instead of the bowler, and that was basically one of the key things I did that day, like watching the ball instead of who is bowling. And then the I just enjoyed the occasion. Like it was a pink ODI, and we it was I would say it was really fun to experience that as well because not many cricketers get that opportunity to play the pink ODI against South Africa. So it was good fun on a quick pitch, and we got smashed to be really fair in the first inning. I think it was like 360 or 370 they made, And yeah, when I was batting, like I was enjoying. Of course, the quick bowlers. Nortje was very fast, to be very fair.
And did you enjoy it when they were bowling at that pace?
I think Janssen and Giri was all right, but when it got to Nortje, that was not as much fun as I was expecting. That was I got hit a few times. I think I got hit twice on my once on my rib and once on my left shoulder. But yeah, that is a different cookie, of course. Like 150 plus, that is. I've never faced that before that, and I only saw Nortje bowling on TV and batsmen struggling against him. I've always seen that, and I was like, okay, how hard is it gonna be facing him? But after facing him, I understood like it is not that easy to face that high quality of fast bowling. And yeah, but I found a way that day. If that was being more defensive against Nortje, I've basically found a way to still score runs on that day, and that is one of the key things in batting. You need to find a way in every condition against any opposition.
So that's really interesting. You said you got hit a few times,
Yeah.
the ribs. So um, when you, like you said, that was the first time facing 150. That's also very interesting. So um, walk us through, I guess, the exact, experience or like what you were thinking or what was going through your mind when, Nokia was, running in to steam in, and then you sort of face the first ball where you're like, okay, like this is really fast. I sort of need to adjust, or we like are like still trying to process how to mitigate or like deal with the situation. So how did you sort of deal with it in that moment?
Well, I think the after the first ball, I was surprised, and I was like, "Whoa, this feels very. It feels quicker than Janssen or Ngidi because I faced them with the new ball." And then I was like, okay, from the second ball, I was basically telling myself I need to be more focused, more active because I can't be. I need something more to face this guy because it's not going to be easy. This little spell from him, and it surely wasn't like I remember he put a short leg to bully me, and after I got hit, and he put like three guys on the leg side boundary to make sure I think about that short ball. But yeah, I love it. It was good fun to be fair. At the end of the day,
So he was trying to pepper you with the short ball essentially.
yeah. After I got hit, yeah, he was after I got hit twice. He bowled I think a 5 over spell if I remember it rightly, and yeah, he was testing me out. But he didn't bowl. He bowled me one off volley. I hit it for four, and other than that, he only bowled back of a length.
So when he was trying to pepper you, were you thinking, like I have to put the the pull shot away, or were you thinking I'm just gonna deal with it and block it out or something like? What did you try to do in order to deal with that specific obstacle? If you can say, yeah.
Well, after I got hit for the first time, I was like, okay, I might have to take him on because otherwise he's gonna be keep bowling that. And I tried to hit his next short ball and I missed it. I remember I missed. I was too late on it and went past my bat. And I was like, maybe it's not a good idea to pull today against this guy. Though. So I was trying to. I was keeping a pull shot out that day because 150. I've never basically pulled a 150 bowler for four or six. So I accepted that it might not be the right day to pull against this against Nortje. So I kind of said okay no to the pull shot.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing those thoughts and being so candid, because that gives so much insight for cricketers all over the world, right? Like they want to know like what are the thought processes of players at that high level, right? And it's just really fascinating that you're saying this is the first time you're sort of facing that pace, and so and even then, like you're saying that you went through this challenge and how you try to get around that situation, you still managed to score 61 or 69, which is insane. Regarding the circumstances you're talking about, like facing 150 clicks for the first time. So like after like you face that pace, you're obviously saying like it's your first time playing that high level pace. Did you feel like, okay, now I have to do I have to get people that are doing sidearm throws at me at 150 clicks? Like, did you just try to face higher pace in order to, in the future be able to be a bit more comfortable with bowlers like Nokia? So how did you go after that game?
Well, sometimes I do practice against high pace, and that's like those are like very tough sessions. To be really fair, I try to tell the sidearm coach, whoever is throwing to me, to throw from like what is it, 15, 16, 17 yards, and try to test me out with a newish ball. And I try to tell them that, and or even against the bowling machine to face 150, 140 to practice that, but to replicate that. But I do it sometimes. To be really fair, I feel like I'm not a big believer in that. I feel like it's the same thing basically. If you face 120 or 150, the ball is gonna come to you, in my opinion. So you don't have to really practice against high speed. It's only in the mind basically. If you feel like you're afraid or you be feared of the faster bowlers, then I think you can. That's it. That's why I say like it's more of a mind game than practice thing.
Yeah, fair enough. So do you feel that because you mentioned that's really interesting. So essentially someone who obviously is scared of facing 150 will like they'll struggle because if you're just scared, then you're not going to deal with the situation. But it seems like you sort of trained yourself to not feel that fear. So I'm just curious how you got to that point. Like, is it just natural? Like you also said, from a young age, you enjoyed being fearless and aggressive. Do you feel like it's from a younger age, you already have that, fearless mindset, or is it more something acquired over time as well on top of, that fearless mindset? Because obviously, you'll speak to many cricketers, right? Like at different levels, and they will obviously talk about, like, snap, like the quick ball, 150 clicks. It's really difficult, how to play. So that's like always a big talking point for players at a lower level. So would
Mm.
you say that's how you sort of, have learned to sort of deal with the quicker ball? It's just something you've naturally had when it comes to your mindset or an approach, or is it just, from a lot of training as well? So
Well, I've been asked this quite a bit. Yeah, I kind of like, as I said earlier, like try to be fearless as well. Try to be yourself. That's like one key thing for me. Like once you get the half volley at 150 or 120, your instinct should take over, and you should be able to hit that for four. Basically, if you have practiced that for thousands of balls. So it doesn't really matter if it's 150 or 120. It's just in the mind, in my opinion. If you feel like you can, you've done your work, you've done your prep, and I feel like then after that you should be fine, and you should trust your training practice.
and in regards to specifically when you're batting in a game or any game, um, when the bowler's running in at that pace, and then delivering the ball out of their hand, like what's your sort of process? Like, are you trying to watch the ball very closely out of the bowler's hand? I know some batsmen talk about looking at the seam of the cricket ball as much as possible, in order to see where they're letting go, and then kind of reading the length a bit early.
Yeah.
So, what's your sort of setup when it comes to that as a batsman?
Well, I'll tell myself like whenever the bowler is running in, like I'll try to tell myself, look straight. That's the one thing I always tell myself. That's basically the only thing I tell myself when I'm facing, when the bowler is running in. I'll tell myself to look straight, play straight, and then from there on, it's just instinct. To be really fair, because I've practiced the drive so many times in my life, the pull shot so many, the flick shot so many times that it shouldn't be a problem on that day against any kind of bowler, basically any pace bowler. Basically, you should be able to hit that ball to the boundary.
And are you because at a certain pace, sometimes people talk about it's really hard to completely watch the ball from the bowler's hand onto the bat. So
Yeah.
would you say that are you doing that? Like maybe at the point of contact with the bat, it's sometimes really hard to sort of know the bat, but you're just trusting your instincts to get you through that. So are you looking at the ball closely as well onto the bat, or are you just kind of trusting your instincts to know like, okay, I've what you said, like you look straight, and then sort of reading the length as early as possible in order to somewhat estimate where the ball is going to end up. So I'm just curious about how you look at that from a batting standpoint.
Well, I'll start looking towards the ball basically. I would say when the bowler's running around the umpire, when he's reached somewhere around the umpire, I would try to start looking towards the ball. Before that, I'm basically just having a look at the bowler when he's running in, and that's basically what I do. And then as soon as the ball gets released, it is my instinct basically taking over. Like kind of whenever I try to pick up the length as early as possible and react from there.
Thank you for the insights, and I just have a few more questions. I know I appreciate your time as well because going back to circling back to like you scored that 61 or 69 against South Africa against world class bowlers. Also wanted to sort of highlight another innings which I thought was was a great achievement, but then at the same time was felt very agonizingly close to beating West Indies. I know that Netherlands beat West Indies in another game. I think it was after that actually, but in this game it was very close. Like you ended up scoring 42 or 42 against West Indies, chasing 308 to win. The team total was 280, ended up being 288, and ended up losing by 20 runs. So walk us through that innings and that match situation because I can assume the team obviously would have been a bit devastated because West Indies are a big team and losing in that manner, but then being able to score that runs yourself against a good bowling attack as well. So how did you feel? I guess also in comparison to your 61 of 69, like which innings felt like you're more fluent or more yourself?
I think the more fluent was of course against West Indies, I would say. But yeah, that's one of my innings where I feel like which I still have regret from. Like I could have finished that game. That was one game because you always dream as a cricketer to win at least one cricket game for your country, and that's actually what you play for, to win cricket games for your team, country. And that was that day. That could have been my day. I could have ended up on maybe 80 plus or even 100 on that day because I was batting so nicely, so fluently, and I wasn't struggling. And then I missed a full toss basically from a spinner which hit my pad and got LBW, got out LBW. But that was still one innings. Even if I reflect my short international career so far, I would say that's one of the innings uh, which I felt like that could have changed my career. Like I could have changed I could have won the game for the team, and then yeah, you know, against a good test team against West Indies, that's something really that would have been really nice.
Yeah, fair. I mean, and in terms of approach, were you because you obviously were into you've played games for your country. Did you because when you were playing in your debut as opposed to I guess West Indies, I'm assuming many things about your sort of mental preparation, all that had changed. So at that point, did you feel comfortable? In the dressing room and kind of in the setup and or feeling like you're being your fearless self. Did you feel I guess comfortable up until sort of leading up to that innings as well?
Yeah, I was really confident at that stage. Like um, it was already more than 2 years where being involved with the national squad and knowing all the guys really well at that stage. Like it felt like a home basically, and where you're very free to showcase yourself and be yourself. If that's on the field, off the field, which is a really nice feeling as a cricket player.
And I guess what you're saying as well about not finishing the game for your country. All I'd say, I mean, everything has a happens for a reason, and it seems like you're pretty hungry as well to win games for your sort of country or like teams you're playing for. So
No.
essentially, I think everything happens for a reason, and perhaps you didn't, like it kind of sucks that like cricket's a brutal game sometimes. Like you said, like full toss, you miss that. Sometimes cricket's just like one ball, like it can be very
Yeah.
unlucky, and then suddenly you could be playing your best. I know I've had that in my, you know, in my sort of club, for my club team as well. Like you're batting well, and then suddenly just one crappy ball that gets you out. You're just like, what the heck. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's basically a cricketer's life, especially a batsman's life. I remember that day, like I was batting so well, and then I felt like they were a little bit under pressure, and I think it was Hayden Walsh who got me out. He was feeling a little bit of pressure, and he put like a very defensive field, and I kind of like I felt like I was less focused and got very easy at that stage, and maybe that was a reason why I got out and why I missed the easy ball basically.
Yeah, fair enough. And um, in regards to as well, I guess emotions after the game and the team, how did the team feel about that situation and that loss? Because obviously it would have been heartbreaking in many ways as well.
No, definitely. I think uh, throughout the whole series we lost 3-0, but throughout the whole series we played really well. We played some really good cricket, and the last game, even the first game, we were really close. The second game, we got outplayed by them, and the third game, we were very, very close to win that game, and it was like only 20 runs, I think. But yeah, like we deserved to win that game, but as you said, everything happens for a reason, and this is basically cricket.
And I know, like as well, you've played in the European Cricket League, and man, I'm looking at some of the scores: 75 of 25. That's pretty insane, to be honest. And 62 of 15 as well. So, it's a quick question: like your approach in European Cricket League, is it? Because obviously it's like it's T10. So, are
Yeah.
you just trying to blast it for a boundary every ball? I mean, the scores suggest that. Especially with the striker, I think your recent strike rate, like past seasons, like 250 or something crazy like that. So is that just basically your mindset, just middle the ball and go hard at each ball kind of thing?
Yeah, that's basically the mindset. Like T10, I feel like it's not real cricket. It's like you might have played stick cricket. It's like stick cricket, where you're trying to hit a six every ball. Like that's pretty much the mindset. That's at least my mindset, to hit a six every ball, because that's the way to go in that format. And try if you hit a few sixes of a few balls, the strike rate should be high, around 300, 215, and you did a really good job. If even if that's like a 10 ball innings, 10 ball innings could be like a match winning innings, and that is a funny part about T10 cricket, that you don't have to face 50 plus balls or 100 plus balls to score, to have an impact in the game. You can do it by literally facing 8 to 10 balls, and then yeah, you can be the hero for your team.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, especially with that shorter format, definitely more impactful innings is more important than eating up as many balls as you can, spread up the right way. And
Yeah.
maybe just a few questions to wrap up. So, um, in regards to, I guess, we talked about your high points and your emotions and what you went through, and also in terms of career trajectory as well. What would you say is like your biggest setback when it comes to your career, and how did you deal with it?
Well, my biggest setback was when I got dropped from the qualifier squad. I didn't get picked for the qualifier squad, even though I did really well leading up to that. But yeah, that was like my real first setback if you look at international cricket, and I was like, yeah, it was hard at that stage, but it taught me a few things like that this is basically professional sports, and this is how you this is what basically can happen to you. Sometimes you do really well and you expect to be in the squad or a team, but you don't make it for some kind of reason. And then the other day, I've even had that, like when I'm out of form or when I'm not doing really well, but I'm still getting picked by surprise. And after that, I realized that this is basically life, and this is basically professional sports where these kind of things are pretty much normal.
That's really interesting, and it kind of reminded me of what you said earlier in the podcast, where you said like being fearless in cricket, and you know applying that to the rest of your life as well, as your dad sort of instilled in you, and you've just made that comparison with life now. Like I can definitely relate. Like I remember, like when I was, I don't know, I because I played a lot of club cricket, and one team like I was a
Mm.
bit struggling, and then I know I was like I backed my abilities, but at that time I wasn't doing the best. But then so I was expecting to bat lower down the order, and then randomly the captain's like, "No, you're opening." I'm like, "What the heck?" Like, so some things just don't right? But maybe they see
Yeah,
something that you don't see at that time or whatnot, but you don't feel like you
yeah,
deserve this. So that's life
yeah,
sometimes. Sometimes you're batting your best and then you're still told to like, not be in the team or be down the order or whatever. So yeah, it's yeah, I guess it comes down to how you handle it. So how would you say you've handled it? You just kind of work hard, go at it and keep trying your best. Is that the advice you give to people that kind of I guess relate to what you're saying?
yeah. I think the best way is to go back and do your thing. Like even if that's like practicing harder, or you feel like okay, this is the reason I'm not being picked or not being selected. To make sure you do that for the next time they announce a team, and yeah, basically performing. That's the only answer. Basically, if you do well, you will not be ignored. In my opinion, you will get your opportunities in the future again.
And I saw on your social media as well, you're at the Qalandars High Performance Center. So looks like you were spending a few weeks there in 2024. So walk us through that experience. How was that? And I saw some clips of you using this bat sense grip thing. I don't even know what it
Mm.
is. So it seems like there's a lot of interesting data being gathered from the way you're playing, and then other analysis looking into it and kind of giving you feedback. So just curious about how that experience went down.
Yeah, I went there last winter to the Lahore Qalandars High Performance Center, which is based in Lahore, Pakistan. I got sent there by the KNCB, the Dutch Cricket Board, to have a training camp for 2 weeks. And yeah, it was good fun. Like it was really T20 based, where I played like 3-4 games as well, where I practiced 5-6 times a week. Really T20 specific, and yeah, it was really good fun. Like the coaches were really good, and you're facing so many different kind of bowlers because Pakistan is really famous of producing good quality bowlers, and like you're facing different kind of spinners where you're not used to facing that level of spinners back home. So yeah, that was good fun. Like working with different coaches, and as you said, the bat sense. Bad sense grip. That was something new for me as well, which was pretty much analyzing my batting, like my bat swing, my bat speed, things like that, and how many balls I am middling in a training session. Where am I hitting them? What can I do better by reflecting to those stats?
And I guess what did you take away from all that analysis of your batting?
Well, I think it was like I remember like being really. I went there with a plan as well, and that was basically focusing on spin game in the power play because as an opener, I don't face a lot of spinners in the power play. I mean, I've never faced a lot of spinner. Most of the time, it's pace. But as you know, like T20, you must be able to hit a spinner as well, because sometimes teams do start with spinners as well. So that was like one thing I really focused on, and yeah, being more making sure I have more shots, more options. If that is, I remember adding the reverse sweep in that stage, because I felt like that is a great option against certain spinner in the power play, or being or realizing that you need to go aerial against spin, which I normally don't do a lot, as soon as possible, but realizing that you might have to go from first ball, being aerial against spinners. So yeah, that was good fun.
And I just got like two questions to wrap up, but
Mhm.
I want to ask your favorite innings. It could be international, domestic, where you felt, this is the best innings I played, or I felt at my best. So I'm curious to know your favorite innings, and also, I mean, you mentioned Nokia and all that, but I'm just curious as well. I don't know if there's any other tougher bowler you've faced, so I'm curious. So favorite innings you've played, and the toughest bowler you've faced.
Well, the toughest bowler I've faced, I would say, is Naseem Shah from Pakistan. I faced him, and I even got out to him. But he's a really smart bowler. He's got a lot of variations. He swings it both ways, which made it a bit harder for me that day. But yeah, really smart bowler.
So when did
And
you play him? Sorry.
against Pakistan, we played an ODI series against Pakistan, and I played one of the three games, and yeah, it was good fun facing him. It was a challenge, different challenge. And my favorite innings, recently it was the top class final, so the domestic final of the 50 over comp, where I scored a 79, I think it was. Under pressure situation, we were chasing 280. We were 10 for 2 in the first 3 overs, and like I had to kind of play differently on that day, because it was a final, and try to steer the ship, and make sure we I put a good platform for the team. And I was really proud of myself that I did that, and even got awarded man of the match. So yeah, that's one recent good innings that I had.
That's amazing. I mean, I always sometimes find like, yeah, people talk about scoring hundreds and stuff. Sometimes a little arbitrary because it's not always just about the numbers. It's about like the situation coming to bat. Like I know for myself, like my most favorite innings were like I scored a 50 or 60, but it's under pressure. Like we were like like 3 for 5 or something, and I'm batting. I'm like, how do I chase 200 from here? Being like three for
Yeah.
five, right? Like, but sometimes those kind of innings are like really important and key. So yeah, congrats to you. And what did you feel you did? Like you said, you batted, to the situation, but you felt like you didn't play as aggressive. Maybe you sort of manipulated the gaps, run hard. Like, what sort of advice would you give to someone when they're sort of encountering that situation? Because I find a lot of people, like for myself, I know I actually love batting in those situations. So that's why I know um, that's why I tend to maybe do a little better because it keeps me a little focused. It sort of allows me to be like, I can be the man of the hour. You know what I mean? Speak to my ego a little bit. So I know a lot of people kind of do well because it's, in those situations, it actually fuels them to do better. But some people obviously it can be very stressful and a lot of pressure can overcome you so that some people naturally may struggle a little bit to be at the best. So I'm just curious, like what advice you'd give and how would you go about how did you go about dealing with that situation at hand in that final?
Well, first of all, like I always enjoy betting in those situations, because that's when it matters the most. Your team needs you the most, and those are the games where I feel like you can show um, everyone that what you're made of, and you can really win a game for your team, and you can be recognized as a match winner. And that's how I felt that day. That it should be my day, and I should try to win this game for my team. And I think, like, pressure wise, like, you need to accept. First of all, you need to be accepting. Okay, this is I can feel the pressure. The opposition is on top, and yeah, realizing on that day was like absorbing. I need to absorb for 10, 20 overs. I remember we chasing 280, and after 13 overs I looked up at the scoreboard and we were like 25 for 2. And I was like, well, I was telling myself, how am I gonna win this game? I was like praying on the pitch, like, how am I gonna, how will I be able to score sevens from here under this pressure situation? But yeah, Alhamdulillah, I got helped, and Allah helped me, and yeah, that was basically it.
Oh, okay, that's amazing. So you definitely, you just had that faith and you kept. I think that's really important as well. Just believing that you can get the job done. It helps to sort of get you there. So it kind of ties into, being, at your best or being fearless or being mentally there as well. It's just that belief definitely helps. And just to sort of wrap up as well, this is a sort of trend. Like I think the last question, our podcast will end on a close. Like I'd ask this question to the guests. So, what if you were to hang out with three cricketers in history? Could be past or present. Who would you hang out with and why?
Three cricketers I would love to hang out with. I would say Virat Kohli, because he's just a legend of the game. Second one, I'll go Babar Azam. I think I always enjoy his batting. And the third one would be MS Dhoni. I think MS Dhoni would be really good fun to hang out with because the way he handled pressure in so many pressure situations throughout his career, I think I could learn a lot from him. And yeah, definitely, yeah, these three.
Yeah, these are big names as well. And I guess were you ever have you met someone like one of your role models or idols in cricket that you were starstruck by when you first met them? Was there anyone that comes to your mind?
Well, I've met Babar Azam. Like growing up, like I watched a lot of his batting because I follow quite a bit of Pakistan cricket, and Babar Azam, when I played against him, I got the opportunity afterwards after the game to have a chat, and I went to him. I was like, I have like a few questions if you don't mind, and from there on the chat started, and we chatted for, I would say, 40 minutes outside the dressing room, which was pretty nice, and very nice guy, very humble guy. And um, yeah, he was really open, and he wasn't in a hurry or anything like that, or he was just very open to and very kind to help me out, yeah, with my questions.
I was curious. Is it too personal to ask like what those questions were, or like was it
Too
more
personal?
the questions that you asked? Like
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask what were those questions you asked him. I don't know if
No,
he
it
was.
was like, yeah, no, it was about betting. Basically, I literally asked about betting, like how do you cope with a few with different betting situations, like if your team, because in that game, funny enough, he was on 15 of like 50 balls because the pitch was really bad, and he ended up on 90 of 90 balls, and I just asked him like, how did you handle that kind of situation? How do you normally, what do you think when you're going out to bet? Because I normally bet at number three as well as him. So I was like, when your team is one down, uh, what mindset do you have, and things like that. Basically, learning from basically the best players in the world. That's a blessing, basically.
Yeah, and what did he say like in response? Like how did he deal with that?
Oh, he said, you need to be, as I said earlier, like accepting that you're under pressure, and uh, you need to find a way. If that's everyone has his own way, and at that day, I watched his batting really closely, even back, and he basically whatever he said, like it was very clear in his batting innings. Like he was doing that, like things like playing against the spin to just manipulate the bowler under under pressure situations. So things like that, like, was really helpful.
And are you the type to like look at a lot of videos or cricket videos or watch a lot of games and kind of observe as much as possible?
Yeah, definitely. I try to watch as much as I can whenever I'm free. Most of the time, I don't miss like my favorite players, which I really follow, or I would say favorite teams. Like I try to whenever they're playing, I try to just watch them, and then yeah, I learn a lot from them basically.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I have a lot of questions, but I'm so grateful for your time as well. So we'll be here for 3 hours, to be honest, if I ask all the questions. But maybe just to give you the spotlight as well. Like, did you have anything you wanted to share that we felt you felt that we didn't maybe cover that was really important piece to your career or anything in particular? Or we covered most of it. I don't know if you had any sort of final thoughts to share about anything in particular from your end.
Not really. I think I'll just add like how important my brother has been for me. Like we've been really important for each other. Growing up, like it was him bowling to me and me also bowling to him. Like growing up together, like teaching each other how to play the game. And then alongside of that, of course, but whenever he wasn't around, of course, it was us two playing around, if that's going into the nets or sometimes in the backyard. Yeah, so he's been really special, and he's also doing really well nowadays. So I'm really happy for him as well.
Yeah, there's something about brothers kind of playing at a top level. Like you see Sean March, Mitch Marsh, see
Yeah,
my uncle Steve. Or I don't know. It's like this thing. I feel like obviously having a sibling helps in that sense. So obviously the way you're sort of expressing right now, it's like it's definitely helped too. So you've always got someone to sort of train with, right? Like a lot of people, like I sort of grew up single child for most of my life. I have a younger sister, but like she's a lot younger than me. But
okay.
I never really had someone to go and play with. You're sort of stuck, you know. Subcontinent
Yeah.
families sometimes don't really socialize as much, like in the sense that
Mm.
you get to hang out with other kids a lot. So like it was a bit, I guess, not as easy compared to I guess when you have a sibling and you can always play very competitive and etc. So I take it that was the case with you as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like him being although he's like 5 years younger than me, I try to make him as competitive as I can. And then when the day arrived that we played our first international game together, I remember it was against West Indies. That was something else. Like our family sitting in the stands, which was, of course, massive for us. And me giving his debut cap to him, which was one of the best feelings probably ever in my career, which I will never forget.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, and sorry, and I had another question I have to ask as well. Like, what are your sort of, I guess, goals? Into in the future as well. Do you have anything specifically you want to achieve? Like, what's your sort of target for the future?
Well, my short-term goals are, of course, scoring a lot of runs. That's obvious, but trying to get back into the team and then making sure I get my spot in my team, and then my long-term goals would be I would love to play some franchise cricket around the world. That is like my ultimate goal, to become a franchise cricketer, and I'm really working hard for that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm hoping it all works out. So, like, I appreciate your time and your efforts, and I think for this podcast, like, we're trying to start by talking to all cricketers because everyone has their own journey, and it's amazing what you shared, and I'm sure people like relate to it, and they have their own goals and get even motivated listening to the story. And you also mentioned your experience playing at the top level and meeting players, so it's been really insightful. I've learned a lot. So, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And to wrap up on a close, like our podcast, we're called the Cerebral Cricketer. We're sort of, wanting to know the journeys of cricketers, also know the mental side, how they dealt with it. So I think in this podcast, it really showed from the young age. That's why I asked those questions in that certain way, just to make sense of the cricketer that you are at this point in time. So you can check us out on for the listeners. You can check us out on we're on Instagram, so TikTok. So that will be up and running, and we'll be on podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, iTunes. So and then I'll be sharing snippets around on social media as well. So thank you so much for your time, Musa. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
take care.